This is a heartwarming story about a Republican operative named Kathryn Lehman. Written up, where was this story? Oh, I don't know. I think maybe it was in the Washington Post or New York Times. We'll put a link to it at majority.fm. But this is a wonderful story of Kathryn Lehman, a Republican operative. She was a Hill staffer 16 years ago, working on the Defense of Marriage Act, DOMA. It's a federal law that defines marriages as between one man and one woman, and basically says that if a state passes a law or interprets their constitution or finds that gay people deserve the same rights as straight people, that their marriage need not be recognized like every other marriage in any of the other 49 states that may or may not recognize that gays have the same right to marry as straights. In 1996, she was working on the Hill. She was engaged to a man. Same-sex marriage wasn't legal anywhere. In fact, she said there was nobody married. It wasn't allowed anywhere. The view of gay people, it wasn't Ellen, it wasn't Neil Patrick Harris. It was kinky sex and women riding around on motorcycles without shirts on. It wasn't people that you know, people that you work with, just people just like everybody else. So says the Republican staffer in 1996. Well, that might have been a tip-off to you as to who the people you were working with. She, at the time, didn't think that DOMA would hurt gay people in any way, even though it denies medical leave pay for 43,000 employees who leave to care for a same-sex partner. It denies health care benefits and injury benefits. It denies something like 1,200 rights that straight people have when they marry. She was chief counsel for the House Judiciary Committee Subcommittee on the Constitution, drawing up that DOMA. And the irony is that she was a happily married straight woman until 2001, at which point her husband wanted to quit the marriage. And she says now that I think I was always been afraid to go to therapy, which she went to when her husband left, because I thought they were going to say, you're gay, and I didn't really want to hear it. It took her a year just to tell her therapist that she'd once been with a woman. As time went on, she came to terms with her sexuality and eventually embraced it. So in the early 2000s, she realizes that she's gay. She ended up meeting a partner that she is now involved with at the Republican National Convention in 2004, where, I might add, you may remember, and we can link to this clip, I was nearly thrown out of the convention by Secret Service, detained because I was holding up a sign asking to speak to a gay Republican. Apparently, she or her partner did not see me. Or apparently, the anti-gay animosity was so intense at that convention. Remember, the Republicans brought out their electoral strength by putting all of these anti-gay marriage ballot amendments on, I think in 10 to 15 states, to motivate their electoral base, to use the anti-gay sentiment that is such part and parcel of the Republican Party as a way of winning their election. Electorally, a smart strategy. But the notion that this woman would continue to work as a Republican operative, now supposedly advocating as a lobbyist to repeal that law that she did, and should receive praise for it, is ridiculous. You're still supporting a party that has in its DNA the idea that gay people are second-class citizens. And I have no doubt, but in another 10 or 12 years, if the Republican Party doesn't realize that it's not in their electoral interest, which I'm sure they will at one point, but if they didn't, then you would have another so-called come to Jesus moment where you realize, like, wow, I guess it was sort of wrong for me to support that political party that was basically saying I was a second-class citizen. I don't know what it will take, but I imagine that will happen. And then you can have another story written about you, how you've really, really seen the light this time. I'm so tired of these stories of people who want to redeem themselves after they're in a position to do something. Ken Mehlman, great. Great to see that you're working now to undo everything you worked upon before. But I'm sorry, that still doesn't put you back at par, in my estimation.